Yeah, I mean, just really sad and disappointed in how we played. K-State was awesome in the second half, made great adjustments, and just really got us standing still. I thought we really lost some opportunities in the first half to extend our lead, and just that just was glaring to me with some turnovers that we had and trying to do too much at times. But again, just a hard game to compete in. You hold a really good team to 50 points. You think you're going to have a much better chance to win, and we just had one of those nights where our best shooters didn't always shoot it very well. So congrats to K-State. Really proud of our team for being here and fighting like they do on a daily basis, and disappointed that we didn't do a better job today.
Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and open the floor up for questions for the student athletes. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait until we get the microphone to you. Colton, go ahead.
For either of you, how would you kind of assess the shooting struggles tonight? Was it, getting the looks but not falling, or was there something about Kansas State's defense that was kind of,
Crystal,
Yeah.
you want? Go ahead, Charlie.
Sorry.
So if you're ready, no, that's fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
I would just say, we did get a lot of good looks, and just looking at the stats here, obviously we had a really poor shooting night, and I think especially, shooters on the team, myself included, we got a lot of looks that we usually get, they just didn't go in. So, yeah, I think for us that's just, getting in the gym and getting up those shots every day, being more consistent in that area. I think throughout this year that has been a problem for us some games. When we go cold from the three-point line, we kind of struggle getting into different looks and getting into the paint, that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I think today we got a lot of looks, we just didn't knock them in.
Other questions for the student athletes? We go up front to Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch Northrup from the AP. For either one of y'all, what do you think worked defensively in the first half that didn't in the second half?
Crystal, could you answer that, please?
Yeah. Our coaches had a really good game plan for us, and we had some different schemes to try, stop both Lee and Sundell and the Glens and, all their great players and weapons that they have. And, I think in that second half when we just, weren't scoring as much and we were kind of struggling to get ourselves back in the game, we maybe took some risks that we shouldn't have, or we kind of just, got a little bit flustered. So, yeah, we had a great plan in place, but, yeah, we did really great at sticking to it in the first half, and just we had some lapses in that second that kind of hurt us.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Back to Colton.
Did it feel like at any point later, after that first half and kind of a grinder of a game, did fatigue start to set in a little bit in the second half?
I don't know if it was fatigue as such. I mean, I'm a person that's always like the mentality, you're never fatigued and those things, and we're kind of coached that way, like it doesn't matter how your body's feeling, you're going to keep going and all those stuff. So I don't really think it was fatigue as much, but yeah.
I think it was just our decision making. I mean, and yeah, you probably could say that ties into fatigue, but I don't think that's really an excuse that we should use. I think we just had poor decisions in the second half, and then that just kind of, stacked on top of each other, as well as defensive lapses, and it all just kind of compiled, and that's why we kind of struggled really in that third and fourth quarter.
Let's go back to Colton.
I know it's a tough kind of an emotional moment right now, but, just kind of reflecting on being able to play together as sisters, and you talked about you didn't know if you would, didn't think you would, and being able to share in all these special moments, just kind of, I know it's just right after the last game, but, what can you just kind of take away from that whole experience?
I'll go first since I'm the one leaving. Just a lot of emotions. So proud of not just how Charlize has come into this program, but all of our young players and how they've stepped up and, really made a mark. And I think that's always been my goal, and the goal of our team is, as I've been saying over and over again, we want to be in conversations, on the national stage. We want our team to be, like when people talk basketball, we want Washington State to come up in those conversations. So, really proud that we've gotten to this point, and that's kind of bittersweet for me that, we have our program is on the rise, and we have a lot of great recruits and a lot of the girls here staying that, we're going to keep building that. So for me, really proud of that. Definitely sad that, I couldn't help our team get to that next stage, and I won't be able to be here, but I know I trust Charlize with anything, and I know that she and all the other girls will be back in the gym, and me and Charlize will play together somewhere down the road, so we're not worried about it, and it's not like, I'm never going to see her again, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, obviously I'm still here. It's more the fact that, we're losing 3 great, really great leaders. Obviously, Crystal on the court, you can't replace that. She's our on-court coach. She calls the shots. She's the hardest working person out there, and that's going to be really hard, to replace. And also in Mick and Cher, you might not see it in the game on the court, but they're just so solid for our team, in our trainings, in the locker room. Their voice is something we all listen to. All the girls look up to them. They're the best role models we could have asked for, and that's going to also be really hard to replace, and so we're definitely going to miss them. But as a team, that's normal. You lose people all the time, and you have to find a way to come back, bounce back, and refigure everything out within your team.
Okay, let's go back in the middle there.
Obviously not the way you guys envisioned your season ending here, but you can look back and say this is the second straight trip to the NCAA tournament. What does that kind of accomplishment mean? I know, Crystal, you touched on that a little bit, but this program is really starting to be something impactful in the Pac-12 and on a national scale. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we are kind of finishing at the same point we did last year, but if you really reflect on our year and some of the big games we had and how we did kind of all year round, I definitely think that, we've taken strides and steps forward, and yeah, so I just definitely not how we wanted to go out, but as I said, kind of bittersweet in terms of, what we have been able to achieve. And if you're really a part of this team and you pay attention to us, you will notice that our program is on the rise and we have a lot of growth, and we've made a lot of growth this year, even though, it might not show it from how far we've gone. But yeah, definitely think this team is on the rise, and I'm excited, for them to keep coming back to these tournaments and keep making some noise for our Coug family.
Yeah, and I probably would just add, Coach E was talking in the locker room. We're going to celebrate this year, and we're going to be really proud of what we've achieved. But on the backside of that, we can't be satisfied with just getting to the tournament. Obviously, that's a big achievement. Second year in a row is, amazing for us to get back here. But it's now taking that next step and getting past this first game, getting past this first round, because I think, we're really capable of doing that. But yeah, it's just getting in the gym and having that mentality every day, knowing that, we can do this, and it wasn't just, luck last year or luck this year. We've proven that we can play and compete and get to this level. We just need to figure out how to get past this and get to the next step.
Any other questions for student athletes? Okay, we've got one person with their hand up on Zoom. Jamie, are you there?
Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, do you have a question for the student athletes?
I do.
Go ahead.
Girls, obviously an incredible season for you yet again. Just kind of looking at this game, though, as you talked about, just some shooting struggles, just 16 points in the second half. Was it something they changed in their defense, or do you think it was just coming down to they did something different, you just couldn't get the open looks you wanted?
Crystal, could you start?
Yep. We saw that they went zone in the second half, and they kind of went away from their man defense. And I think, we kind of were flourishing, playing out of our man sets. And I definitely think once they went zone and we couldn't, like Charlie said, make those 3-point shots, and we kind of got a little bit flustered in that second half with our decision making and things like that. I definitely think, they changed some things up, and we didn't make the adjustments that we needed to in that second half.
I agree.
Do you have any other questions for the student athletes?
Yeah, one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Crystal, for you, as you said, kind of a bittersweet feeling that, you've done so much for this program, but obviously turning over the reins to your sister and to the players still remaining. But, it's something that when you look back in 30, 40 years, you can look back on this and you look at how you kind of helped spearhead the change in a program's culture. Is that something that you can kind of take out of this, even though, as you said, it is a bittersweet moment?
Yeah, definitely. In exactly 34 years, I will look back and I will be, just so proud of how the coaches helped me, kind of turn this program around and the work they've done. And I was just grateful to be kind of on the ride with them and, follow them here and really try to do something. And I didn't get as far as I would have liked with them and help them as much as I would have liked, but definitely, glad that I was able to be a part of it and was able to be a part of their kind of little coaching story and this program's history here.
Okay, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for the student athletes. Ladies, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
All right, we'll now open up the floor for questions for Coach Ethridge. We start front here with Mitch.
Yeah, Coach. I think you said yesterday, you hadn't seen a player like Lee, before this year. What was kind of the emphasis to kind of frustrate her? And it worked really well in the first half. What changed in the second?
Well, I think we got into foul trouble and had to go small a little bit. Fouls really mounted up for the two bigs that I put in. They obviously got a few good looks for her, and but every foul ended up in a shooting foul, and so the free throw. You can look, both of us were pretty awful shooting the ball, and shooting it from three. And the difference is, that kind of body, that kind of length. She's so good, better than anyone in the country that can catch it high and keep it high, and she gets a lot of calls on that, and that was really the difference. I thought they just got to the free throw line before the bonus right away, and that's how they scored a lot of their points. And that, point-wise, that really is the difference in the game. But I thought they did a really good job of maybe changing where they threw it to her. They adjusted well, and I thought they frustrated us a little bit on the defensive end, and we weren't as sure as we wanted to be when they were switching defenses, and just at some point you gotta balance that out, and you gotta make some shots from the perimeter if you can't score over her, and we just didn't do that today.
Any other questions? Okay, go back to Mitch.
Coach, before last year, this was a program that hadn't made the NCAA tournament in 30 years or something like that. This is your second year in a row. You had a winning record, competing in the Pac-12, a very tough conference. You're only losing, I think, one starter from this team. I mean, do you feel like this team is closer to getting over the hump, and how good do you feel about, kind of taking this momentum into next year?
Well, I really want to believe that our foundation is really solid, and I think losing – the foundational pieces of our other two seniors that don't play a lot, Mick and Shear, losing Crystal is a big loss for us. We have a couple of point guards that we're bringing in, and a couple of different kind players that I think will, bring us a little bit more depth there. And but those are big shoes to fill. But I love the fact that we're still pretty young, and that we have everybody coming back, and now the challenge for that group is to consistently get better. I think recruiting will get better for us. We will continue to try to get a little bit more talent, a little bit more size, things like that you've got to keep doing to keep up with teams that have this kind of size. But again, we've got to really be proud of the fact that in 4 years we've taken a program that had not won very many games in the history of their program to competing in the NCAA tournament. So couldn't be more proud, couldn't be more grateful to get to coach that senior class. And I do. I have every great feeling and excitement about what I think this group that's coming back will bring to the table and try to improve on and try to continue this streak and take us further.
Colton, in the back.
I'll direct the kind of a similar question to what I asked them. Kansas State's defense, or I guess, would you put more of the shooting struggles kind of on yourselves and missing what you normally make, or kind of what they did in their adjustments?
Well, as a coach, I'm always going to be critical of myself and us not doing enough to help our team. It is unbelievably unusual to have our best three-point shooter go, 0 for 10. We missed some layups. Again, I think the opportunities that we missed in the first half, instead of having a little bit of a lead. I think we could have been up 12 or 14, and I think, those are the ones that I look at that you can start figuring things out in the second half, and you can manage it if you don't when you go dry. But disappointed in how we responded. And again, I'm going to look at me first and my staff first and figure out ways to be better for our team. But I don't care. It's still the same point. We held a really good team to 50 points, and you've got to, whether it's the coaches, and it certainly is in some ways, and the players, as far as what we've got to do to get better, we've got to learn how to score the ball better.
Any other questions here for Coach? Let's go back in the middle there.
I know you've kind of touched on outlook going forward and reflecting on the growth of the program going forward, Coach. But what's kind of the message going back into the locker room, after this loss, and then going forward, going back to Pullman, and how, like, when you start to get back to work, what's the message to build on this even further?
Well, I really feel good about our team and the competitors that are in that locker room, and obviously their commitment to getting better and their work ethic. I think we do a really good job as coaches as far as player development and putting in some workouts that will help continue to grow our team. There's certain spots on the floor that I think are going to be rock solid for us. I think there's huge growth that our players will and can make. And that point guard spot's going to be a concern for ours. We've got to figure that out. And again, maybe recruiting's never over, so we've got to continue to find ways to get better. But the work ethic in our program is really solid. The commitment, the excitement to do that. Obviously, we'll take some time off. There's not much time between when we get back to from the Final Four to school finals and stuff like that. So there's very limited time to be in the gym with them. But I have a ton of confidence that this team is hungry and not satisfied. And yes, we will celebrate it. We're going to celebrate last year's team because I don't think we did enough, and this year's team at some point. But we're never going to just live on that. We're going to also celebrate and look forward to the future.
Colton?
What would you call that defense you were playing on Lee with the zone help, and how well did you think you executed? And then kind of on top of that, how crucial was Ula?
We just had a couple of different coverages. We helped from the backside in some cases, and then we sagged off of players that were kind of reluctant shooters. And, they're a little bit like us. They have some kids that just aren't shooting it well, and I think everybody that's been successful against them has found a way to take Lee away and make others people beat them. And I think we kind of did that. When you consider 50 points, that should be enough to win a game. It's just we weren't good enough to get to 51. And so, again, I think we had a couple of plans, and given the fact that we lost a little bit more of our size with fouls and had to go super small on Lee, I think that hurt us. But I thought it would counter on the offensive end because it put more shooters on the floor, and it just didn't for us. So, again, she's a handful. She's really good at what she does, and they know how to get it to her. So it's credit to them.
Okay, we have a couple minutes left, and I've got a couple people on Zoom, I hope. Jamie, are you still there?
I'm here.
Do you have a question for Coach?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Go ahead.
Coach, first and foremost, congratulations on another fantastic overall season. You mentioned Yo going 0 from 3, and it didn't seem to have the depth scoring tonight behind the sisters. How much does that change the way you can approach offense when really, 90% of your offense is really coming from Charlize and Crystal?
Yeah, Jamie, thank you. By the way, and it's been our struggle all year. We haven't shot the ball well enough. We don't have enough depth of shooters. You look at the people that are going to win in this tournament. Everybody plays pretty good D. Some are better than others, but gosh, people can stretch the floor, and people make timely threes, and we have a lot this year. And when we win, we make threes, but we're too reliant on one or two players, and that's about recruiting. That's about our bigs getting better and being a presence in the post. We didn't really have that today. So I think we can get better at every position on the floor, and in part that everybody in our locker room needs to be better, and we need to recruit people that can put the ball in the basket. So I love the fact that you can basically tell our team to watch the games from here on out, and you're going to, people are going to see that there are a lot of teams that can really affect winning, and you got to have some depth to affect winning, and we just are a little bit too pencil thin.
Did you have one more question, Jamie?
Yeah, I had one more. Bella only plays 13 minutes. Obviously, fouls a big part of that. But coming down the stretch in the fourth, were you just trying to go small, or was she a little banged up from that elbow she caught early?
No, I mean, I just thought that we could stretch the floor a little bit better. I'll second guess a lot of things. She just got a little bit anxious in the first part of the game and tried to do a little bit too much. Again, she's got to be better in the future, and she has so much willingness to work at her game and to try to get better. And part of her thing is going to be, learning how to stretch the D and get a little bit more range on her shot. And I think this offseason you're going to see a different player next year, and she's going to be able to stretch the floor a little bit more than she does, and will be very comfortable doing that. So I can't wait to see what Bella will look like next year. She's a very hungry player that wants to be great, but tonight just felt like we didn't have enough, people that could shoot the ball and needed to go to that. But like I said, well, I'll second guess myself all the rest of the week.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Brenna, are you there?
I am.
Hi, Brenna. Do you have a question for Coach?
Yes. Coach, you coached Crystal for 4 or 5 years now, I believe. Just kind of talk about her as a player and her impact on I guess both of the programs that you coached at.
Right. I mean, that's when she walked in the door at Northern. She was not a complete player yet, or a complete leader, or a complete bought-in, but she had a will to her, and she could will herself past conditioning tests when she hadn't trained. I mean, she has a will to her, and she has an IQ, and she has a toughness, and that came with her the first day that she got there. She changed our program at Northern. She helped us have kind of a real championship season in that year, that second year that I coached her, and look at what she's done here. She comes in, sits for a year, watches the Pac-12, wanted the challenge to play at the highest level, which is typical of her, but she got to sit, and then the opportunity to come in and play with her sister, and then COVID happens. She gets to play 2 years. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy that they got to play together for 2 years. I love that family. I think they are just such good people and such great competitors, and they want to win. They love what we're trying to do at Washington State. They're kind of those gritty people that have a chip on their shoulder. And again, what she did for Northern and turning that program around and making us that, and then turning us around at Washington State, it has a lot to do, and she carried a lot of weight. It has a lot to do with Crystal Ledger-Walker. So proud that I got to coach her. Thankful I get to continue to coach her sister, but I'm so excited and grateful for just knowing that family and getting to kind of do this thing together.